they are doing. They are present. They're not innovating or creating or collaborating, but they're there. Disconnection is the reality that you don't feel that you fit in. And today, only 10% of the workforce here in Turkey is engaged. I'm sorry to say that this is the lowest in the world, except for the United Kingdom, who are at 9. So we have a way to go back to fix this. 47% of your team are looking to resign. Imagine that for a moment. Close your eyes, imagine your team, and then imagine that nearly 50% of them walk out tomorrow. Imagine the stress on HR, imagine the cost to refill those roles, to train them, to pay your headhunters. 50% of people already wanting to shift into their side hustle, to move to an NGO, to become a social media influencer. It's a high number. 69% of Turkish employees already report very high stress. And from the conversations that I've had with all of you in these last 2 days, I understand why. But this is not just a Turkish reality. It's a global reality. We are more stressed now than we have ever been in all of history. 300 million people have anxiety. Guys, we made this problem. We created this high-stress world. And the last one here is that 89% of your teams say that if they had a sense of belonging, it would directly impact their performance. And yet, only 38% of them feel that they have it. They want to belong. They know that when they feel they fit in, they are able to win, to perform, to grow. And you know what? That's because of neuroscience. It's how the brain works. When we feel safe, and safety comes from belonging, because as humans, we need to belong. It's evolutionary. When we belong, our brains are able to perform to their full potential. When we don't belong, they don't. So if any of you came here today wondering about the cost of this, it is $50 million an hour. So in the time that I am on stage with you, we will have lost another $25 million from the team that you left back at the office. We need to belong to win, and yet this conversation is only now beginning to rise. But why? And what's that got to do with empathy? We are suffering with something called an empathy deficit, an empathy gap. Now, the empathy deficit was coined by President Obama a long time before he was president. He was in Washington, and he stood up and he addressed his audience. And he said to them, I know I'm supposed to talk about my federal deficit, but I think we should talk about our empathy deficit. It was 20 years ago, and we did nothing about it. So for 20 years, we have known that we are becoming more disconnected from each other, but we're too busy and too stressed and probably too tired to turn it around. Today, we're at the process of a 30-year decline. 30 years of declining empathy. Now, when you understand, and I'm going to show you right now what this really is, that empathy is a survival skill. This is not about being nice. Please be nice. But that's not what we're talking about, okay? We are talking about a skill set that is built into your brain, the prefrontal cortex. You all have it. I do not have more than you. Every week, somebody says to me, but maybe, Mimi, you have more empathy than everybody else. I don't. It's built into your brain because as humans, we knew hundreds of thousands of years ago that if we do not connect, we do not survive. When we were cave men and women and we lived in the jungle, if somebody got separated from the tribe, either they died or we did. We knew that we have to be connected to survive. And yet, after 30 years of declining empathy, we have now lost 48% of it. 48% of a skill set that will literally ensure the survival of the human race. So what is it? What is this skill set? What is empathy? I'm going to play you a clip from the Joker movie, one of the world's most successful movies last year. Let's see what he has to say.
Have you seen what it's like out there, Murray? Do you ever actually leave the studio? Everybody just yells and screams at each other. Nobody's civil anymore. Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy.
Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy. That's all this is. Empathy is perspective taking. If you came here today thinking this was a soft skill, please, may that be the last time. This is not a soft skill, it's a hard skill. It's hard to master, it's hard to find, it's quite hard to maintain, and it has really hard business results. Maybe this is the hardest skill of our times. Now, earlier this year at Davos, so every year at Davos in around March, the global leaders of the world fly off to Switzerland to fix the world. This year, the World Economic Forum released some new data. It went very viral at the time. What you're seeing on this is the core skills for 2030. And in the quadrant at the very top, what you are seeing is the top skills that we need to lead into the future. And yes, AI is right there at the top. It's not going anywhere. But look at the circles in pink. Resilience, curiosity. You're all here, right? You're all here learning on a Wednesday morning. And probably the highlight of my year is empathy. Can you imagine that the World Economic Forum at Davos stood up and said, in order to succeed, the leaders of tomorrow need empathy? When I started this journey about 4.5 years ago, I remember I got up every day and I would make a LinkedIn post and I would write about empathy and leadership, and I would really hope that somebody would read it. They never did. Maybe Melis was reading it. But today, this summer, we got our analytics from my very small team. And in the summer, we reached 2.5 million people. That is very little to do with me and everything to do with the state of our world. Because the fourth industrial revolution is not just about the tech. It's about the people, and you guys know it, because your entire careers are about the people. It's shifting how we lead, and yes, it's shifting who we lead. Today, for the first time in history, we have 4 generations in the workplace. And I'm sure you, like everybody else in your organization, see those gaps between the 18-year-old at the bottom and the 65-year-old at the top. They don't even speak the same language, let alone tweet the same language. To elevate our organizations, we have to close those gaps. There's many pressures on you as HR leaders. There's many things you need to implement, from well-being programs to performance programs to reward structures. but none of it will matter. Not if they're not connected. Disconnected people die 8 years before their connected friends. So you can be a triathlete and take all of the organic supplements that you want. But if you don't fit in, you can't survive. When we get this right, you will be able to feel the difference. Because you know what? This is not a concept. I'm not teaching you a framework. This understanding of empathy as humans, it's a memory. You were born knowing this. If I ask you, how does it feel to come to an event like Perion, to go to the tea break, and for nobody to look at you, for nobody to listen to you? If I ask you, how would you feel? You know how you'll feel. We all know what it feels to not be seen or heard. It feels terrible. As humans, you know this. You were born this way. It's a memory. My job is to travel the world to meet leaders like you and remind you of that memory. Your children know this. If we ask our children at the very simplest form what it is to be heard, to listen to them, they can tell you. This is my daughter. Her name is Umi. She is 7 years old. And I asked her recently, no script, no preparation, what does it mean to listen? And at 7 years old, this is what she knows.
Why do we listen to people?
We listen to people because when people are sad or when they're not happy, when they explain something to you, you have to listen, or else the people think that you're not listening to them.
What happens if you don't listen? How do they feel?
If you don't listen, they feel sad and they think you're not their friend.
They feel sad and they think you're not their friend, right? You know. So maybe you don't want friends at work. Maybe you do. But either way, the principle is the same. If you don't listen to me, I think you don't care. I think you don't want to be my friend. You don't want to be my boss. I have no value to you. Children know because we all know. We are just too busy to always remember. Perhaps, this is the secret to all human success. What I do know is it is absolutely at the core of being Turkish. When I researched more about empathy in your country, I discovered Yüce Gönüllülük. This is who you are as Turkish people. You are probably the most empathetic people on earth. You look at the numbers of your people that go to the street when there's an earthquake or a disaster. Just look at how well you all come together. This is who you are. That's why I say to you, this is not a concept. This is not something you have to teach to your teams. You just have to remember, as leaders in your own country, how to tap into what makes you Turkish and what can change your workforce. Because it will. The data proves it. People with strong social bonds are 3 times more engaged without spending a single penny. They are 34% more productive. They work longer hours. They work harder because they believe that they fit in. You see innovation go up. You see profits go up. This is everybody's favorite slide. Organizations who are led with empathy are 23% more profitable. Did I just solve all of Q4's goals in 3 slides? Engagement, productivity, output, and yes, your profit. When people feel that you are listening to them, when they fit in. Belonging is not soft. That's why I said earlier, this is not a soft skill. It is scientific. This is about optimizing the human brain. When we feel connected, our bodies do better. We recover from disease quicker. Our immune systems are stronger. We live longer. And we do better at work. Fundamentally, we are talking about the science of our times. To understand each other, to connect, is this skill set of our times. Maybe we forgot. Maybe we're out of practice. But we can all bring it back. This is empathy. What I know is that if you embrace it, it might change your life. It certainly changed mine. But what I know without a doubt is that if you take this back with you, it will change your organizations. Today, the organizational mindset of our times, the need of the hour, is for us to do this together. You're not alone. I know as HR you feel like you are. I know every quarter the CEO gives you another project, which previously HR didn't do. But you're not alone because none of us are alone. And the great news is you can train this. This is a teachable skill. That's why I have a job. Because we can remind each other, we can train our people to use more empathy in your workplace, because we're not born with a fixed amount. It's a skill set. So the more you use it, the better at it you become. It's a choice. You can choose to use your empathy. And as leaders, when you get it right, all kinds of incredible metrics change. We can connect those generations, the top, the middle, and the bottom. We can really sustainably balance profit and people together. We drive up our engagement, our motivation, and yes, our well-being. Because however phenomenal your well-being program is, if people are chronically lonely, it won't work. We can create inclusion. As a female leader, I can tell you, you cannot include me if you don't ask me how I want to be included. Inclusion is based on understanding, on human data. If you don't ask, you will never know. And yes, HI, AI, HR. Motivation is all relational. What that means is we only ever do anything in our lives because of somebody else. So even if you are training for a triathlon and you think it's all about you, it never is. Because if you go into the psychology of it, maybe you're training to be healthier for your family, to be a better mother, because somebody you knew died of diabetes. All human motivation is relational. Your people will do better when they do it together. Because in the end, you cannot lead anyone if you don't first listen to them. If you don't listen, how do you know how to lead them? How do you know what they need from you to be led? I call this listening-led leadership. And I think it might change the world. Because when people feel seen, they rise. When your boss notices you, When your boss says to you, I think that was a brilliant job. I love that process you've put in. Well done on that new system. How do you feel? You feel great. You want to do it again. You want to work more for him or her. I think the equation of our times is this: AI plus HI, human intelligence. That is your ROI, your return on investment. Perhaps that is the equation of our times. Because, ladies and gentlemen, in this life, in this crazy world, there are many things we cannot choose. Our governments, social choices, the media, we have no control. But you know what you can choose? You can choose connection. You can choose to go to the coffee break and make eye contact. You can choose to smile more. You can choose to actually listen to the answer the next time you ask someone, how are you? Those are choices. What I know is that empathy is maybe the only currency here in Turkey and everywhere in the world that increases the more you use it. It is contagious. If you smile more, if you listen more, if you make eye contact and ask open-ended questions, people will do it back with you. It's innate to who we are. Because you know why this? We, as Turks, as humans, are more alike than we are different. And the media, the government, they'll have you believe that this isn't true, that the things that pull us apart are bigger than us. But it's not the case. As humans, we are all more alike than we are different. And I want to play one more video to bring this to life.
Let the sky fall when it crumbles. We will stand tall and face it all together. Let the sky fall when it crumbles. We will stand tall and face it all together. Let sky fall.
I don't play you James Bond because it is the biggest marketing con of all times. Because you have been watching the same movie since 1962. I play it to you because we have been watching the same movie since 1962. When the next one comes out, you will go, your 17-year-old son and your 70-year-old father. Because we all want a hero. We all want to be loved. We all want to be seen and have a sense of adventure. Because in the end, we are all more alike than we are different. My name's Mimi. Thank you very much for having me in Istanbul. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.